The phone buzzed on the chipped kitchen counter, a faint glow cutting through the dimness of the small apartment. It was 11:47 p.m., and Daniel Harper, a 38-year-old single dad, was still awake, scrubbing a stubborn stain from his daughter's favorite pink sneakers. The buzz startled him, his tired hands pausing mid-scrub. He glanced at the screen, expecting a spam message or a reminder about the electric bill he'd already stretched to pay. Instead, it was a text from an unknown number. "Hey, you coming tomorrow? Really need you there. 8 a.m. sharp, 245, Park Avenue, R." Daniel frowned. He didn't know anyone named R, and 245, Park Avenue was in Manhattan, a world away from his cramped Brooklyn walk-up. He typed back, "Think you got the wrong number. I'm not who you're looking for." He hit send, set the phone down, and went back to the sneakers, the rhythm of his scrubbing matching the quiet hum of the city outside. His daughter, Mia, was asleep in the next room, her soft snores a reminder of why he kept going, day after day, through the exhaustion of balancing a warehouse job, bills, and raising a 7-year-old alone. Minutes later, the phone buzzed again. "Maybe not. You sound like you care enough to reply this late. Come anyway. You won't regret it." Daniel stared at the message, his brow furrowing. It felt like a prank, but something in the words tugged at him, a quiet plea beneath the casual tone. He shook his head, muttering to himself, "I don't have time for this." But as he lay in bed later, the message lingered, a tiny spark in the monotony of his life. The next morning, Daniel woke before dawn, his body aching from a double shift. He packed Mia's lunch, kissed her forehead as he dropped her at the neighbor's for school, and boarded the subway. He told himself he was just curious, that he'd swing by 245, Park Avenue, see what this was about, and still make it to work. The address led him to a sleek skyscraper, its glass facade gleaming under the morning sun. A security guard eyed his worn jacket and scuffed boots, but waved him toward the elevator after he mumbled something about a meeting. On the 42nd floor, Daniel stepped into a bustling office, all polished wood and sharp suits. A young woman at the reception desk looked up, confused. "Can I help you?" "I got a text," Daniel said, feeling foolish. "From someone named R? About a meeting at 8 a.m.? Her eyes widened slightly, and she picked up a phone. "Mr. Rivera, there's a gentleman here about the 8 a.m. slot." A pause, then a nod. "Go right in." Daniel entered a corner office where a man in his 50s, impeccably dressed, stood by a window overlooking the city. Rafael Rivera, the nameplate read, CEO of Rivera Innovations. He turned, his face lighting up with a warmth that caught Daniel off guard. "You came," Rafael said, crossing the room to shake his hand. "I was hoping you'd come." "I think there's a mistake," Daniel said, shifting uncomfortably. "I'm not whoever you meant to text. I'm just nobody." Rafael's smile didn't waver. Nobody replies to a wrong number at midnight unless they've got a good heart. "Sit. Let me explain." Over the next hour, Rafael told a story Daniel couldn't quite believe. The text was meant for a consultant who'd bailed on a critical project, a community initiative to fund tech education for underserved kids. Rafael's company was launching a pilot program, but the team was short-staffed, and he'd been desperate for someone with fresh perspective. "I sent that text to the wrong number," Rafael admitted. "But your reply, it felt like fate. I looked you up after you texted back. Daniel Harper, right? Warehouse worker, single dad, volunteers at the community center when you can. You're exactly the kind of person this project needs." Daniel's throat tightened. "I don't know anything about tech. I'm just trying to keep my daughter fed." "That's why I want you," Rafael said. "You know what it's like to struggle. This program's for kids like your daughter, kids who deserve a shot. Help me make it real." Daniel hesitated. His life was a treadmill of survival, bills, Mia's school, the constant fear of falling behind. But Rafael's words stirred something he hadn't felt in years, purpose. Against his better judgment, he agreed to consult part-time, just to see where it led. Weeks turned into months. Daniel threw himself into the project, bringing ideas grounded in the realities of people like him. Parents scraping by, kids dreaming big but lacking means. He suggested mobile tech labs for neighborhoods without computers, mentorship from workers like him who'd clawed their way through. Rafael listened, and the program grew, gaining traction across the city. One evening, Daniel sat in the community center, now a hub for the program. Mia was beside him, tinkering with a coding kit from the pilot. A group of kids laughed nearby, their screens glowing with games they'd programmed themselves. Rafael walked in, clapping Daniel on the shoulder. "This," he said, gesturing to the room, "is because you showed up." Daniel's eyes stung. He thought of the midnight text, the one he almost ignored. He thought of his wife, gone 3 years now, and how he'd promised to give Mia a life she'd be proud of. In that moment, watching his daughter's face light up as her code ran successfully, he realized he'd done more than keep a promise. He'd helped build a future, not just for her, but for every kid in that room. But as the session ended, a boy no older than Mia tugged at Daniel's sleeve. "Thanks, Mr. Harper," he said shyly. "I want to be an engineer someday." Daniel knelt, ruffling the boy's hair. "You will," he said, his voice thick. "You've got this." The room emptied, but the warmth lingered. Daniel took Mia's hand, stepping out into the crisp New York night. The city felt different now, not a weight, but a canvas of possibility. A single text, a moment of kindness, had changed everything. And as he walked home, Mia's small hand in his, Daniel knew that sometimes the smallest acts of courage could light up the world.